Trump's tariffs exposed. I'm going to take you in behind the real plans of what's going on with Trump's tariffs and how you can profit at them. But first you have to understand what's going on. Many people have no idea about what's going on and the moves that are going on. And there's a lot of pundits that I hear on TV and on podcasts talking just critically that it's all chaos, it's all crazy. They don't know how to fight. Hi, my name is Ross McLean. I'm a former law enforcement officer. I used to do close protection for billionaires. I've protected some of the most secure places in the world, and I've actually worked for a global distribution company in technology. So I understand a thing or two about logistics, worldwide logistics, and what I'm going to talk to you about here. So first off, let's have a little look at what everybody is saying. They're saying there's a lot of confusion. Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He puts them on one day, takes them off the other. I watched today the All In podcast. Great podcast. Although Jason on it drives me a little crazy with his liberal point of view on it. And they had on Larry Summers and another guy on there. And all they're doing is that, well, can't you tell me specifically why are you doing that? That is not fair. That is not by rules. I don't understand what Trump is doing. None of this makes sense. I don't understand it. Yeah, that's right, because you don't know how to fight. The people who talk, who don't understand it, they're what you want to call part of the professional management class. They're not part of the, as Elon would say, the founder's mindset. They're not entrepreneurs. They're not fighters who had to go make all their own money, not be given jobs as a vice president here, head of that over there, manage the wealth. Those are two different creatures. I know. I've been around billionaires who've made their own money, and I have an idea how they think and how they go. And that's what Trump is. Trump is doing not just the art of the deal, but he's doing the art of war. So let me get to this real quick as to where we're going, as to where the answers are for all this. Who is the general for Trump in the art of war? I'm going to give you the game plan that he's playing by. It's not Sun Tzu's. It's by Jim Rickards, the financier. James Rickards, a New York Times bestselling author. He's authored books called Currency Wars, and one of his latest ones almost was sold out. That's the one I'm going to be focusing on here. He has been a Wall Street insider for over 35 years. He's worked in finance. He's worked at Citibank, long-term capital management. But here's the classic one for you. He teaches warfare at West Point. Economic warfare. Let me correct it. Economic warfare. And that's the way wars are being fought today. We've heard of InfoWars, made famous by Alex Jones. Well, there's also economic warfare going on. And this guy, James Rickards, he understands economic warfare. So let me give it to you this way. A lot of people who don't understand what's going on, they only know their lane. For instance, if I was to make a chessboard analogy, if they're pawns, they only know what pawns can do. If they're rooks, they only know what rooks can do. If they're knights, they can only move the way knights go. But they don't have any idea how to control an entire board and control the space on the board, put your opponent into a weak position, and checkmate them. They don't understand all those other moving parts. Jim Rickards does. So, did you notice back during COVID when all the shelves started to get empty? We had the talk of all of the ships all lined up off the west coast of California, all lined up for months. People couldn't get their things out, all those problems. Remember there was issues where they couldn't get chips for cars and everything was delayed? This book by Jim Rickards called Sold Out, I'm telling you, you have to either read it, get the Audible on it and listen to the audiobook, or borrow it from your library. It explains what's going on for the next 10 years. Let's jump to another great businessman here for a second, Elon Musk. Elon says what an economy is, it's the sum of its goods and services that get moved around and exchanged. It's not really the stock market. Everybody's going crazy about the stock market taking a dive, then coming back up. It's really about what you move and what you sell. That's where logistics comes in. For the last, 40 years, all of the industry in manufacturing has been pushed off to places like China, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. I mean, you name it. It's been pushed everywhere but on U.S. soil. And what that exposed was a problem. See, the way those chains worked, Jim Rickards explains it in his book, you have to get it. Those chains were formed over a great distance. You would buy things that came from Hong Kong that had to be made by laborers who got their IP, their intellectual property from somewhere to be able to manufacture it, to put it on shipping containers, to bring it over to the US, to go out to distributors and wholesalers. And what happens when you've got a long supply chain like that, a long supply chain that's built on being the most efficient, read cheapest way of moving something from one place to another? It's very fragile. It's easy for it to break. Speaking of warfare, economic warfare, real warfare, that's why the US is shooting up the Houthis over, because they're blocking off critical straits over in the Middle East that products and ships move by. China's doing the same thing down in the South China Seas. They're over there trying to block it up, take it over so that they can control trade. That's what the Panama Canal is all about. It's a trade route that is needed for logistics. So if you don't understand logistics, you don't understand where the problems are coming in with these tariffs. What he's going to be doing with these tariffs is causing all of this manufacturing to have to come back to the US. Now, it's going to take time for that to happen. Jim Rickards expects it's going to be at least a decade before all that straightens out. But what's going to happen when all that work comes back to the US, all the jobs and all the other parts of the supply chain come with it. I mean, think about it for a second. If all of a sudden someone builds a factory out in the middle of somewhere, what comes with that along with the supply chain? All the developments around it. A housing development goes up, then a school goes in, then a hospital goes in, then a home hardware goes in, and then a Walmart comes in, and then people open up diners and restaurants and movie theaters and all the things around that work. That's the other part that you need in order to supply a factory, to have it working. You need all those other things around it. But guess what? They only develop organically. There was never any great plan, never, for worldwide logistics. They just developed the way they came across. Part of it started back in the 60s when we started to have better communications with undersea cables, when we started to have flights that would go from one country to another across the oceans. And of course, the biggest invention of all was the shipping container. Those standard shipping containers allowed you to move stuff in ways, keep track of stuff, put it on ships, put it on trains, put it on trucks. That's where trade, worldwide trade, really took off. Do you remember during COVID? There was a shortage of those containers. Why? Because China was keeping them all. And that caused a problem. So what Trump has realized, and what every country should realize, if you turn over critical manufacturing, critical skill sets to other countries and you don't have them yourself, you won't be able to get them back. You lose all of the education, all of the wealth that's generated with that, and all of the ancillary industries that go on with strong manufacturing. And what's happening here, as Jim Rickards talks about in his book, is what he calls the logistics supply chain 2.0. You're going to see it come back. You're going to see very sophisticated manufacturing going on back in the US. Just go look at Starlink with Elon Musk, his latest factory. It's unbelievable. Aluminum bars come in one end, he melts them, turns them into Starlink receivers at the far end when they go out. Very much like Henry Ford used to do when he built the original cars. All the raw materials in one end, cars out the other end. That is what Trump wants to bring back. Now, everybody's like, well, there's going to be disruptions here while this is going on. Yeah, there is. Just like when you were a kid and you had to move out of your parents' house. All of a sudden you didn't have the great second car, mom's car to use. You didn't have maybe the big screen TV. You didn't have a whole home there. You didn't have someone else filling up your fridge. There's a period of time you had to go off and establish yourself and build your own foundation. And then when you did, you have all those things and it multiplies. Of course, the problem is now the youth of today isn't getting those things. They're not getting the houses and the cars and the great jobs far and wide. So what you're going to see with this new logistics supply chain, and it's worldwide, it's affecting everybody in the world, is disruption for sure, but you're going to see financial opportunity like hasn't been seen since the end of World War II. Do you remember, let me put it this way, you go back, you looked at the the San Francisco gold rush. Yeah, some people made money going for gold, right? Panning for gold and bringing it up. They got rich. But you know who else got rich? The people all along the way that were selling them shovels, pans, and filters for sifting out the gold. There's going to be nothing but opportunity coming forward. So get this book, read about logistics. If you don't understand it, you're not going to understand anything that's going on for the next 10 years. You're going to be a victim of this change in the supply chain, much the way Polaroid got lost when digital cameras came in and their film cameras all went out and they had all of those problems. You have to educate yourself on this. Logistics 2.0, you can profit from it and you can do well from it. But first, you have to know about it. I'll put a link to the book, the Audible, down below. Thanks for tuning in. This is Ross McLean for the McLean Chronicles. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.